This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in MetaQuest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The MetaQuest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my two personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code Ruff Talk VR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered. Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined with Scott Albright, the CEO and founder of Combat Waffle Studios, which right off the top is one of the most badass game studio names. They're the studio behind Ghosts of Tabor, which we just did our early impressions of last week, and to say we've been loving it is an understatement.
No, it's not even funny. It's ruining my life in all the best ways possible.
Yeah, it's been very hard to go explore other games without at least doing one or two raids, and unfortunately, one or two raids can quickly become your whole play session when it becomes 4 or 5 raids, but that's a different conversation. So before we get into it, Scott, do you mind to tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are, and also in case they missed last week's episode or they've somehow missed
hearing the words Ghost of Tabor?
Yeah, a little bit more about what the game is.
Yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just a gamer, right? I'm 38 years old. I'm prior military, prior law enforcement. Did a lot of stuff in my life in 38 years. Before this, I was a talent agent and manager in LA. And so I dealt with a lot of different celebrities, actors, athletes, dealt with their careers. I've been playing VR since 2019. I actually joined the comp team, the leftovers and contractors in 2021. And that's how I really got hot and heavy into VR. Turn around, I've always wanted a Tarkov in VR. That's what I've always wanted. My wildest dream is some dev studio would have the balls to go out and just make this game as big and hard as it would be. And I just one day decided, screw it, I'm just going to do it myself. Went and had a buddy that was a crypto company that was looking to do a big investment. They're out of business now. But good for me. But no, just joking. A bunch of great guys. But they gave me investment, and I said, hey, I actually talked to the guys at Day Z about coming on and being the development team. And they said, oh, it'll take 5 years and $10 million. I said, no, we're going to do this in 12 months. And they said, it's not possible. And we did it in 11 months. I think we're at 13 months now, 2 months post-launch. But we got a very base game that could go into a closed beta, and Ghosts of Tabor, man. I remember before launch, we're sitting there thinking, like, God, if we can just sell like 10K copies, well, good. All the employees can stay. We'll have our stay, because we had 1 year funding. That's all we had, right? We wouldn't just everybody on staff went into it with a hope and a dream that they thought it was going to be amazing, including me. I walked away from a 7-figure year job, being a talent agent manager, just to pursue this. And we put a year of blood, sweat, and tears into Ghost of Tabor, and it paid off. And it paid off for any of the devs listening. It paid off because we're not making the same crap over and over and over and over and over 5v5 comp games. We listened to the community. We were gamers. We knew what the community wanted, and we made something that people want to play. We found a genre that was not done and people were scared to make, and we made it. And we got really, really lucky. I like to say blessed, but we're very, very lucky. However you want to look at it. But yeah, man, that's me. Big history and entrepreneur since I was 16. I'm also the CEO over at Virtual Reality Esports League. And that's how I met Jonas Infish. And that's how I met Duncan, all through the leftovers. And then we created Virtual Reality Esports League, VRL.gg. And I said, I need a better game than contractors. So we made one. That's it. That's my story, man. That's it.
There's
podcast over.
There's definitely a lot to go in there. That sounds like quite the background.
Well, I don't think I could have walked away from Hollywood Talent Agency. I just don't, not even knowing the money. I just make an assumption it's a good lifestyle.
It's a lot of travel. That was the worst part. I've got a 3-year-old. We're trying to have another kid. I didn't want to. And I have a 12-year-old son, but he lives in Louisville, Kentucky. I live in Florida, so he lives with his mother. But like after my year in the Army of never seeing my son due to my duties there, I started to see when my agency really exploded. I started to see that same repeat that I was traveling Thursday to Monday. I flew 188,000 miles in 1 year. So when I started seeing that I missed almost an entire year of my second year of my daughter's life, I was like, no more. Like, what? I've got to do something else. Like, I cannot do this again, because I really feel like that year of me missing my son's life is what put a strain on our relationship, because I wasn't there, and I never want my daughter, and my wife's pregnant again with a little boy, and I never want to have that happen again with my kids. So
now you're the
Nope, I
Now you're the
$1,000,000%
CEO.
respect that.
No, that's awesome.
freaking
So,
awesome.
so this sounds like a very fascinating story. You kind of, I mean, how you go from law enforcement and military to talent agent in Hollywood over to VR developer. It doesn't happen in a
That's not the normal progress.
No.
So do you want to take us a little bit through that path? What was the story of Scott Albright like?
Sure. Scott Albright was born in Louisville, Kentucky. I'd always had this drive to be in law enforcement. So when I was like 15, I joined the Explorer program with the Louisville Metro Police Department, which is through the Boy Scouts of America. And you, from 15 to like 21 or to 18, you can be an explorer, and you go on ride-alongs with police. You work events beside police. You get to see what the job is, and that was great for me because I always wanted to be a cop. So I did that, and then I turned 18. I got on as a cadet until I was 21. And then I went and became a sworn peace officer. After about 2.5 years, I decided, hey, this just wasn't for me as much as I thought it really was. So I left. I went and installed cable for a local internet company for about 4 months. And I said, this sucks. Like, I need to do something with my life. I was 24 years old. So going into the military at 24, you're an old man in boot camp. So when I went into basic, I was the old man. Had a great career in the military, planned on doing 20 years, got hurt, got a medical discharge, got out, worked for the government as a contractor for a little bit. Wanted to stay home, still didn't want to do all that. January to March of 2022 thing. Decided in January, got funding in March, started April 1. Assembled my entire team by then. Like it was just one of those things. Like I'm blessed, man, but I'm not trying, like, there's a ton of great devs out there, but I got really, really lucky. That's really all it comes down to. I got really lucky, or it was just destined in the stars for me to make it this time, for it to be super successful. I don't know. But I think every day, like, this could be over tomorrow, and I'm thankful for what I have. So.
Well, when you look at the game just dropped,
it's not going to be over tomorrow.
No way.
You got to keep that doubt in the back of your mind.
Oh,
though,
yeah.
right?
No, I
gotta
totally,
stay real.
Well, yeah, humbling is good.
Well, I didn't realize. I mean, we talked to a lot of developers, and they say, 2-3 years is kind of the average development time, and
about
11 months from
11
conception to from team being built to 13 now with what we have now. And I mean, the game's been out for 2 months with over 2,000 ratings just on the MetaQuest store.
Yeah,
it's clearly a hit. I mean,
yeah,
sheesh, that's hugely impressive. And I like that you're not shy with the influences of the game. You're like, I wanted Tarkov in VR.
I mean, we got to embrace what you are, right? That's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody wanted. So that's what we made. We tried to spin up some things to make it a little bit more unique because it's a VR game, right? But it's Tarkov. At the end of the day, we're Tarkov in VR. That's it.
That's impressive. And how many people are working on this game?
That's what I wanted to
know. For the 11 months, we only had 8, and now we have 14 or 15 now, I think. Maybe 16 counting me. We've doubled since we were launched.
Wow.
We have 3 environment artists now instead of 1. 5 full-time developers. We actually hired Spoonfed from Swordsman VR. He was one of their senior developers. We hired him away a couple months ago. Our lead developer, our technical artist who just left for medical, and our head environment artist are all from Epic. They all worked contracted with Epic for VR content. They've been working since Oculus Go. We hired a lot of kids straight out of college, out of a place in Ohio, and they are just unicorns. And we had people that didn't work out. We had more people that did work out. And with us, we work fully remote. So like we're in Discord every day talking, bullshitting. It's still a very military. I try to run it like a military style environment where even like the brand new employee in a respectful manner can call me a dickhead. Like if I'm being stupid, like call me out on it. Like tell me I'm being stupid.
Keeps everybody in line.
Right. And we joke and we're inappropriate and we're not PC. And it's like, we just have fun. And I really feel like everyone loves to come to work, and everyone that's been hired and stayed, it's a passion project, and they all love Tarkov. So it's one of those things. It worked. It just worked this time.
I think it's crushing it at the level it is. I mean, my anticipation is obviously we're going to see it in the official store sometime.
And you're scoring people from Sin Studio with Swordsman VR. That's one of our favorite App Lab games. You look at like the environmentals in that game, and they're
Putting
crushing
together
it for
a nice, optimizing on
We've
the
seen other
MetaQuest. Studios do it though, where they put together a very serious, passionate team that cares about what they do. They come from all walks of industry, and then they just start crushing it.
Yeah. So I mean, this game's available on PC VR, on the Quest. For yourself, what do you play on?
I play on my Index, on PC VR. Yeah.
And I mean, how hard was it to get a game like this that there's so many environmental details, there's so much going on, 12 players on a map, a huge map on the island of Tabor map. I mean,
oh man, and this is a small map compared to the next one coming. So,
oh, don't even say that.
Yeah, this Matka Miest, the Mother City's coming. So,
oh my goodness. So what's it like to get a game like this functioning on the Quest?
How do you even get it to work
in 11 months?
It friggin' sucks. Right? I mean, let's just be real. Like this game, it still has some. We know it still has some hangups on Quest at the lab and island. Like we know that, and we're working on that. And environment artists are working on it. It's simple things like texture atlasing and things like that that need to be just completed and pushed. And it's not easy. And I really don't think we could have done it if we didn't have the team that we had. Like I mean, everybody, including me. I did not know Unreal when we started this project. I'm a Photoshop guy. All the logos, all that stuff, like that's me. But I got down along with my guys. Show me how to do this Unreal. Let me watch you do this. And I've learned Unreal. I made Missile Silo.
And did that come first, or
Missile Silo was first? Yeah.
Okay. I got that impression because it's a smaller map.
We were still searching for the right environment artist, and we were interviewing a lot. And by the time we found Seb, we had already finished Silo, but then he went through and he saw everything that I did wrong, and he corrected it. So,
hey, if it makes it for the better, then
yeah,
it is what it is.
He's a rock star, man.
No, it sounds like the whole team you're putting together will fall in that category.
Yeah. And was the idea always to get it up and running on the Quest, or was this
absolutely?
I
think if you're a developer, and there's some guys that have released some titles that were supposed to be huge, and I'll use their example, Veil. The fact that they did not release on Quest was the dumbest business decision in my mind that anyone could have ever made. It's the market, and don't get me wrong, our PC market. It's not far behind our Quest market, our Quest sales. Like they are neck and neck by like 600,000.
But you'd still be losing half your sales without the Quest.
We lose 50% of our revenue if it wasn't for Meta. Like period. And there's no reason a game like Veil or anything or Ghosts of Tabor that okay, you have to give up some fidelity, right? You got to give up some of that visual niceness. But that's where the market is. And as much as I may be a PC purist, and I love PC, and I don't really enjoy my standalone headsets, you have to go where that is. Like you can't leave your player base out. Like that to me is a disservice to all the people that want to play the game that you work so hard on. And when we first started this, my lead game developer, Ronaldo, he's like, we cannot go to Quest. This will never run on Quest. We're not going to be able to do Quest. It's like, we are doing Quest, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's happening. And it happened. But it's not like we didn't work 16-hour days, 7 days a week for 11 months, because we did. We worked every single day for 14 to 16 hours a day. and we're tired.
It sounds like with the amount of updates coming, the new map you teased,
Yeah,
and
they
bug fixes. It sounds like those days are just as long, you know.
Yeah, they are. We take weekends off a lot. Like we haven't been this weekend or the last couple weekends because we didn't get to push an update. But like we try to at least take a Sunday off or do something of that nature. Like we try. Since the launch, I think about 2 weeks after the launch, we try to take a little bit of time to see the families and the kids and stuff like that. Like even if it's just stepping away for an hour to have dinner with your family or lunch, or just putting your kid to bed, like, and telling them you love them, like that can completely refresh you as a human. So for all the indie devs that are doing that, make sure you take that hour, have lunch with your family, have dinner with your family, go to the park with your kid, let them slide, let them swing, because they're going to grow fast. Your dad can tell you, yesterday you were knee high, right? Like in his eyes.
Oh yeah, no, it creeps me out.
Yeah,
time is quick, and I've always told people, like, the minute you have a kid, time goes even quicker because now you're seeing it versus, you don't necessarily catch it with yourself for like a decade.
Telling you, man.
It goes.
I still feel
quick.
17 and 16 in my head, and I look in the mirror, I'm like, I'm not 16 anymore. But I still feel like that kid in high school to this day.
Yeah, that never changes, I don't think.
Yeah.
Or some people suppress it, but I think for the most part, that's exactly it. I don't, physically and mentally, I'm like, I'm still young 20s,
Yeah.
You look in the mirror and you're like, holy shit, who is that looking at me?
Yeah. I know. Every
that's
day
where I'm
gets
blessed
a
that
little fatter.
I can at least do something like this with my son. So
that's
I'm
cool.
blessed in that sense. Yeah.
I really am envious of you, of this podcast with you and your son. When I found out you all were their father-son co-hosts, I was like, man, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Would you believe like the first 6-7 months of the podcast, we were trying to keep it secret too.
No,
it
it's so cool.
So foolish. Yeah. We're like, wait, what are we doing? Yeah. We should probably tell people.
Yeah, it's so cool that you all are like that. I feel like that just it makes the podcast that much more like attractive and wholesome. Just that you all are doing something together, because unfortunately, you don't see a lot of dads that have the ability or even want to sit next to their son and do a podcast, right? They'd rather be doing their own thing. They don't want to be around their kid. And it's really cool that your dad and you have that kind of relationship. I have that type of relationship with my father. And I think that's the most special thing you could ever have.
Yeah. We were talking about starting a podcast for a while, because about once a week we get together, drink coffee, talk for like 3-4 hours. Like, probably should record it. Just had to find the niche. And then like we both got Quest 2s, and it was
we were bit by the bug. Yeah. It was instant after that.
So to go back to, you saying like, hey, you need to do the Quest standalone, even if it's not what you prefer, it's a whole market. As somebody who's on Quest 2 standalone, I appreciate that mentality.
Yeah, of course.
That's how people like us get to experience it,
Well, let's be honest. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was like, we made this game for you all. It's not us. Like,
No, but you guys are definitely gamers.
Yeah.
So that's showing in the. It's just funny because we've been playing. I mean, we play everything legitimately. And then we got our hands on Ghosts of Tabor, and it's no bullshit. I mean, instantly on the Discord, I was like, I'm going to sleep thinking of raids in the morning.
1 p.m., you're at work. It's like lunch. You're like, oh,
can't wait to get home. I'm going on a couple of raids in this game.
That's great,
it's like
man.
It's filled everything that I'm kind of like looking for, and instantly figured there was a long-term vision with it that's much bigger than even what I'm playing right now. So I'm invested deep.
So something I'm curious of, because it's not always what you would expect from the developer, but I mean, I imagine when the game was very early in the works, you were a king of the game. But at this point, with the game being out a couple months, how's your skill hold up with the player base? Can you go in and dominate a raid, or you got to be on your toes?
Honestly, I don't get to play as much as I would like to, so I do have to be on my toes. And there are people that have killed me, but they don't know my in-game name.
Ooh,
so they have no idea who I am. I think since launch, I've died maybe 5 times, and I try to play at least 2 or 3 times a week for a couple hours. But I have developers that get in every night, and they can't stop playing either. So it's like they work on it all day long, and then they go play it for 5 hours.
Yeah.
So
I could see that totally,
dude. It's legit taking over at least 2 to 3 hours almost a day. I'm like begging for us to play. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We have way too much fun.
I love it, but touch grass sometimes, please. Like, please, everybody, go touch grass. I love you all, and we appreciate you all, but we want you to be healthy too.
Yeah, that's the benefit. I always, like our reviews because we're a little bit more of not a casual gamer, but it's like, we don't get to put in, 6-hour play sessions. I get like the hour and a half,
full time,
2 maybe after work, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m.
That's
style.
great.
So I think that's a game like this works perfect for that type of play schedule.
Dude,
too,
you could play it for 20 minutes legit if you just want to get a couple of runs in and call it a day. Well, and you're not,
a raid can go up to 45 minutes. So
our problem is we fart around too much in
the bunker area,
the Safeway house and stuff, the safe house, and we're like putting together little legit at organizing the wall.
Yeah, I know that there's resets coming. I shouldn't put
server
so much
wipes.
Yes, wipes coming. I shouldn't put so much time into July 1st, right?
July 1st,
yeah. So I put in so much time, pimping out my area, and I know it's coming, and I don't care. I just have so much fun with that.
You're gonna love the new safe house. You're gonna love the new bunker coming, man. It's so cool. I sat down one night, that image I teased, I actually did that in like 3 hours, and we fleshed it out in like a week. Wow. And like it's me and the map maker just got in and just like went ham on this map, and we made everything modular and super cool. And then the vault room, I think, is my favorite, just where you can watch your stash grow. Like you can watch your money grow.
The cash stacks. Yeah. No, that was wicked impressive. I didn't know it was okay. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool.
Has there ever been the idea? I imagine that it was way out of the realm of possibility just because of performance reasons, but has there ever been the thought to allow, another user to visit a bunker?
We're still talking about it. Our biggest fear is that your friends are going to come in and just screw all your shit up, right? Mm-hmm. Because I would do that to my friends. And that's really my biggest fear, man. It's not really performance. It's more of one of those things that we do want to allow eventually, but we just have other things that are holding priority right now. But even joining a group soon will create a voice chat, at least with your friends, while you're in your bunker, to where if you're in a group and you don't have Discord, or if you're on the quest and you can't use Discord, that you don't have to use Oculus chat or meta chat or whatever it's called now. You'll be able to have a voice chat as soon as you join up a group on your terminal. So,
okay, and that won't have the spatial audio.
No, the audio sound like they're right here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it won't have the like you load into a raid, like nobody else will be able to hear you. Or
not when you're in your bunker. No, it won't be a private chat. When you load into a raid.
Okay.
When sometimes you load into raid, everyone can still hear you unless you mute. But in your bunker, only you and the people in your party will be able to hear you.
Yeah. Admittingly, sometimes to kind of game that we'll play in the Oculus party chat.
Of course. I wish I could stop you, but I can't.
Yeah, I know it's not right, but
no, it's fine.
I still get killed plenty.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's no different than muting and being in Discord for PCVR players, right? Like, it's the same difference. Like, there's no way to stop it. We talked about it, but it was just impossible on meta. Like, our engineers were looking at how to backdoor that to where you could never mute you could never turn off your mic and like just use Discord. Like, we looked into it. Like, but we just couldn't do it. So
I knew I was being dirty doing it, but I was like, "Oh, dude,
it's good."
Until I know what I'm doing,
Legit, I do it in Discord with the team if we get on and play. Like, we do it. We go in Discord and mute ourselves in game and run around talking Discord. So
for a game that's in early access, what's your vision of a full release? Is it a performance thing or is it a content marker? Like, we
2 more
want
maps,
this content,
performance.
Okay.
10 maps come out total. Yeah, what was that?
I said it's going to be a little of each then. The performance,
yeah, there's still some
content.
Performance and content. July's bringing some major content. Between now and March of next year, and I'm not going to tell you what March is, but between now and March of next year, we want to have ready for at least meta store release. I'll say it. Screw it.
You guys are gonna. I'm no lies. I already know that everyone's investing their time into it. I already know whatever bugs and things show up. are going to get ironed out and smooth. This is going to be a game changer on the Meta Store. It really is. I already know. I think I said it. If it was a stock, I'd be throwing my money all in because
2,000 reviews on App Lab in 2 months.
Oh yeah.
Imagine if that was official store.
I can't name anybody who's played it, especially like in our Discord. It's like everybody, other content creators are all over this thing.
My flat screen gaming friends, my friends in real life that don't play VR, they're still flat screen boys. They sent me videos of Ghosts of Tabor. Yeah. I'm like, dude, it's hitting the casuals.
So many people that just approach us and say, we bought a headset to play Ghosts of Tabor, and it blows me away. Like, it blows me away because I don't know of another game that's done that besides Beat Saber. And I'm not comparing myself to Beat Saber at all. Don't think that's what I'm saying. But for people to say those type of things to you when you were just begging between two platforms to send 10,000 copies so no one would lose their job, to not having to worry about that ever again, like, blows your mind.
That's amazing. I'm so confident when this goes to the official Quest store, it's going to be on the top selling, like 100%.
Real quick.
And you know what? A big part of that is it's exactly what you said at the start of the interview with, hey, developers don't do what everybody else is doing. You said, hey, there's no extraction-based shooter in VR.
That's right.
Well, and even if you did, there's not going to be one probably in the short term like this.
But you found a popular genre that's yet to be checked off, and you did it yourself, and look at the results, So I think that you took a risk, but look at the outcome of it,
The next game's going to blow people's socks off too. So it's going to be good.
So just to be clear, you have multiple games in the...
We have 6 games written down, fleshed out that we want to make. The next one is going to be called Last Call, and it is Day Z.
So you're going in and you're going, what do we love in flat screen that isn't in VR yet? And let's do that ourselves.
Let's make it.
You gonna put Rust on the list anytime soon?
Actually, one of our senior developers, Spoonfed from Swordsman, he has a game that's in development. He said he'll never release it on Quest, at least Quest 2. And he doesn't. The game is far along. It's called Grim VR, and it is Rust, and it is like 5 years. He said he won't release this for another 5 years, and I am begging him to let me publish it, to be the publisher. Combat Waffle, like, begging that I played it. I'm like, this game will be amazing. So he made a comment the other day. He's like, we're gonna make Day Z, huh? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'll take it. Worked on the Tarkov, the Rust, and now the Day Z and the Rust of VR. Worked on all 3 titles. Let's go. He's like, my resume's stacked.
Oh no, I'm dying for someone to.
If it's 5 years out too, you can't say it won't. Like you said, definitely not on the Quest 2. But who knows where the hardware is going to be in 5 years?
I've been trying to get him to release it like in a few months.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like that's 5 years with no peer pressure.
Yeah,
you got Scott coming down on you constantly
with that Ghosts of Tabor 11-month deadline.
I just made his logo for him. Like, I did last calls, and I was like, hey, let me make you a logo, because he just had this logo he was going to make in Photoshop and like Paint, Microsoft Paint. I'm like, dude, let me make you like a professional logo. And it turned out great. And like in the Short Stack and Z-Storm Gaming, 2 streamers have been playing it, and they've been streaming it. You can see it on their Twitch, on Z-Storm's Twitch. He played Grim, and it was crazy.
Strauss over here has been begging for Rust every week, so I know he's going to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, keep an eye on it.
And so, did everybody think you were crazy with your 12-month deadline? Like, what was it like getting people on the team and being like, hey, I want this in 12 months?
We need it in less than a year.
Was everybody on board that they could do it, or did everybody think you were kind of nuts?
They were on board, but to add the pressure, we added the countdown timer on the website. And every Monday opening meeting and every Friday close of business meeting, I reminded them of how much time was left. And I don't know, man. There were times where like I came like, we're never gonna make it. Like, the weekend we had the launch party the launch was on a Monday, so that Friday we're in Orlando, Florida, which is like 3 hours from me. And we got this hotel. We rented out Full Sail University, had this big, beautiful launch party, thanks to Full Sail University, which is a gaming university, the game development university. Friday night, the launch party's on Saturday night. Friday night, we're all standing around our fire pit at our hotel. drinking, smoking cigars, just like cutting it up with. We just left like the content creators dinner. They all came out, and at that point, we had still not been approved for App Lab, and we released on Monday. And our publisher, we got denied because we had application space warp on, and application space warp is not allowed to be ran on a App Lab game, but it is a full store release, so we had to resubmit. So Beyond Frames, our publisher, who have been absolutely amazing, stepped up, went to bat, got Meta to review it, and on a daggone Friday night at like 8 p.m., Infish Jonas just refreshes the page because we're actually pushing an update to the testers while we're like partying, like we're coding at the same time. And he's like, Scott, come here. I'm like, oh God, what happened? He's like, we did it. I'm like, we did what? He's like, we got approved for App Lab. This is on Friday night and we released on Monday. Like, we just had pure faith that it was going to happen, man. Like, we really willed this into existence. So yeah, people said there's no way you can do it. Like I said, the developers of Day Z Champions Days told me it'd be 5 years and like $15 million or $10 million to make this game. And I told them they were nuts. Like, no way, no way. And we did it. Like, no one thought we could do it. And people like you all didn't know it took us 11 months. But when people would come in and complain, like in the first week, they'd be like, hey guys, like the community stuff, like this was made in 11 months. And people just, and they just like, oh shit, okay. It's gonna have bugs. Like, exactly, it's gonna have bugs. Like, I'm sorry, it's got bugs, and I hate it too. And it affects me when I play. I played the other night, played 5 raids, and almost uninstalled my own game. Like, I was so mad because of the people in Silo glitching through the ceiling. So it's like I get it. Like, it affects me too, and I hate it for the player base. But I mean, we did the unthinkable, and we're gonna continue to do the unthinkable. And there's nothing out there besides death that's gonna slow us down.
Well, and I'll defend any bugs because it's clear right from the start. It's
early access.
It's early access.
Yeah,
it's a
you
game in
can't.
progress. It's like I didn't actually expect it to be as far as it was, and I'm like, we figured out workarounds for some of the bugs until they're fixed because we're like, this is the only game we've ever been like, I want to still play it, and if this is what I got to do to play it, I'm gonna fucking play it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Makes me really happy to hear. Just so you know.
Yeah, no, we got the faith in the whole team, and I've said it from day one. I'm like, I see a bigger picture with this. That's if half of it even comes remotely true, then it's a home run for me. So I'll work through it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, the glitches for us or bugs, it's very minor. Like, okay, so we'll party chat it, but other than that, we're not doing exploits or anything like that. But I mean, the total of my jank at this point is I've lost my backpack climbing a ladder, and when I first load into an area, there's like 5 to 10 seconds of potential frame rate drops, and then that's all gone. And then that's really
no real issues while playing.
No, not. I mean, one time I picked up every once in a while I'll pick up a item in a helicopter my hand for a couple seconds, and then it stops. And it's funny though. It's no like game ruining. No. Like, I can't play this game. Luckily, I'm not good enough at it to hang out in a raid long enough to deal with other people being exploit. I usually grab a couple guns. I go in, get a half full backpack.
I'm out.
Couple assault rifles.
I'm out.
10 minutes, 12 minutes. I'm out. I'm not waiting there 45 minutes. Money. Yeah.
Although I did buy the Founders DLC.
Yeah, we had to.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Way. Dude, that was an amazing.
Well,
to me, it was an amazing offer.
And what's the full vision of this game? I know you said a couple more maps and some performance, and then it's you feel it's good for release. But what about post release? Do you have a full vision for this game?
Yeah, I mean, I want 10 maps total. We want to bring a lot of different features. Like, there's going to be stuff that rolls out in July that we still aren't going to be done. You're talking full melee combat. We want to bring in bows, crossbows, and that's one of the big reasons Spoon is so great, because the new Swordsman VR bow that's so amazing, Spoon created. So we get somebody that knows what they're doing with melee combat coming from Swordsman, but we're also looking at a comp mode. It'll be like its own standalone game that's going to be based off of a flat screen game, the way it works, Hunt Showdown. So it'll be really based off of the mechanics there and how their raids work. It'll be trios, duos, and solos you could play comp mode on. And We're going to partner with Virtual Reality Esports League, of course, since I'm over there, and they're going to host everything. And I'm sure we'll host some stuff ourselves. I don't know, man. I don't see this game being done and like completely done in my head for 5 years. Like I cannot see us even like when it's done and like, okay, we have no more content to bring. We still have to have like 3 devs working at all times on this game. Like I don't know. I just don't see it being done for a really long time. And all the games that are coming out come from the same universe where you're going to have Advantage and there are Umbrella. And it's only going to get crazier with Advantage as this game develops and goes on. So a lot of spoilers, and you'll be able to find stuff. And because your whole mission of this is to figure out what's happened, what caused the nuclear night to put you in the situation you're in now. This is a couple years after the nuclear night, which you're living in Tabor now. So that's the whole goal, is to figure out why this happened and figure out who Advantage was and those kind of things. And you're going to find these clues. Like it's got some MMO storytelling behind it as well. It's all coming. It's going to take some time, but it's coming. The character leveling's coming in now. The character attribute MMO style leveling's coming in soon. A bunch of stuff. So I mean, it's all on the way. It's all coming, and it's going to take a little while, but we're going to get there, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Oh man,
I've encouraged anyone who will listen. You need to jump on board of this right now. Don't wait.
And you hear, it 5 years vision after release.
Dude, it's got no. And I think even if after we'll say 3 years, if you guys were all like, you know what, we'll keep the game, but we're not going to continue to pump out updates, and I don't think it would still be going anywhere. There's certain games that last the test of time regardless.
Yeah, and it's your idea to finish this game in entirety and finish releasing DLC, then move on to other games, or do you want to pump out some of these 6 games?
October 2024. October 2024, Last Call, Day Z comes out.
You know what?
Wow.
If Ghosts of Tabor is any indication, I'll trust Combat Waffle Studios with deadlines.
But Ghosts of Tabor is one of those things. When we made it, we knew what we were making was going to be the bones and the skeletal system for everything we made in the future. So we built that with in mind that, hey, here are these 6 other. I've even got like the idea for like a drone racing game in VR where you wear the goggles. I've got all kinds of ideas. I have a notepad where I wake up with ideas literally when I sleep, and I've done this for years, and I write down ideas. Like I'll be have a dream and wake up and write it down so I don't forget. And I've got notebooks full of ideas for video games and movies and all this other things that I've ever pictured in my head. And I don't see us slowing down. I mean, we're going to hire more devs just to work on Last Call. Like we're not pulling anybody off of Ghost of Tabor. Like we're going to expand so we have full staff at GOT, and we'll probably hire 3 to 4 more people just to work on Last Call, just because it's working off what we've already built. And I don't know, man. I'm very trying to think of the word. I just like to do stuff, and I get bored if I don't, and I don't want to get bored. So we got to keep moving and pumping and grinding and pushing and not quitting and never being happy and never being satisfied. To always make sure we've set a standard. I feel like for games at this level from developers, that guys have had a lot more money and a lot more time than me, and I feel like they've fallen flat. And I feel like I've set this benchmark for myself, and the only thing that I know how to do with my background is to go higher, is to beat that benchmark. I like to always keep pushing. So who knows what's coming for Combat Waffle in the future, but there's definitely more games, a lot more games, and a lot more cool shit in Ghost of Tabor.
Well,
also when this hits the store, I think it's gonna
stupid.
spike some other developers to go, hold on a second here. Because a lot of times I think people are just cautious of not wanting to test the waters because of the financial risk involved and the possibility of failure. But I mean, you can't ignore even in App Lab what's going on here with it. It's not.
No, there's something magic there.
Yeah, just look at the numbers in themselves. It's like, this is not your normal game.
Meta knows. We've talked to Meta. They get it.
Well, how can they not? You
can't ignore it.
We've got our publishers are doing a great job with them. I'm actually flying over to Sweden here next month, and I believe I think Jose, our guy at Meta that we talk to a lot, I think he's going to try to make it over, and we're working with those guys. And I think what is in store for the future of us and for what I've heard from Meta is nothing but great things. Not saying they're acquiring us. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I don't think I could ever agree to that, after watching what happened, unless, I decide I just want to live on a beach for the rest of my life and not worry about anything. But I think the way that Meta's going with the publishing stuff that they're doing now and getting away from the full studio acquisitions is a smart move. A lot less overhead, and that's sort of the deal that we are hoping that we will get with Meta soon, and that we're talking about. And I think that just brings more eyes to Ghost of Tabor. And I think if you bring more eyes to Ghost of Tabor, then you put, like you said, more devs on their toes to do better. Because the fact, I say it every day that I see these bugs and you're like, oh, we deal with the bugs. Like, it's okay. I'm like, guys, we really appreciate that. Like, holy hell. But to me, it's like, how abused have we been as VR gamers that we're just okay just now dealing with this kind of stuff, right? And it's like, we as developers need to do better. Us included. We need to do better. We need to make games and continue to support games after they come out. And I feel like that's what happens a lot in the VR space too, is games come out, people love them, and then they just fall flat because they just don't crank out updates. Like, we try to push an update every week. We have to. You have to do that. Like, or you're going to end up like games that I love. Like, Contractors hasn't had an update since December. Like, what the heck is going on? Like,
and they just announced a new game too.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be PUBG.
It's a battle royale type game.
Yeah, it's like PUBG. Yeah, from what I understand.
So you don't want to go that model where you have another game in the work and then updates slow down on Ghost of Tabor. No, you want to keep it going. And I keep meaning to give a shout out to them. Your publisher, Beyond Frames, one of the top publishers in VR. Ace and the team over at
amazing.
Beyond Frames, they're badass. So that's awesome to hear. They were able to help you get that last minute, app lab release, and that.
Well, and publishers also,
it speaks volume to that importance of it.
Oh my God. Yeah. And they genuinely, a good publisher believes in the project. So they're going to carry that passion because they want more than anything to see that project come to fruition. So
yeah, it was touch and go getting to publish. We were talking to Vertigo Games. We were speaking to them. We were talking to two other publishers in Beyond Frames. And for my first meeting with Ace, and it was just myself, my lead developer, and Ace in a phone call on Discord. And from that moment, I knew I did not want to sign with any publisher but Ace. And it was just, we connected. I'm one of those people, when I meet you, I know if I like you within 30 seconds, even if it's a phone call. And Ace is just a homie. Like, he's great, man. And then I got to know the rest of the team, like Mava, the head of publishing over there. Mava's a rock star. Like, Ace has like Wonder Woman in his studio, like, you know what I mean? Like, she's amazing, and she works crazy hours like me. So it's awesome. I can always get a hold of her, like at crazy the 8 p.m. release. Yeah, they've been amazing. They've done nothing but support us. And our relationship's only growing, and we're already looking at talking about the next games and publishing deals with them for those. So it's like, I don't see myself signing with another publisher. Even if Ace wasn't interested in the game, I would self-publish before I went with another publisher, just because I love the guys at Beyond Frame so much. Like, I just don't think that anyone can ever give me the level of service that they go out and give every single day to me as a game developer.
Yeah, whenever I see Beyond Frames attached to a game as a publisher, I'm pretty confident in it.
There's a handful there. They're legit.
Yeah,
we don't have to second guess it.
We had a little bit too much fun with Juan's Alliance.
Juan's was great. Yeah, Juan's Alliance was good too. VRL hosted a league for those guys, for the Juan's Alliance.
Yeah, it's like I said, we got a little bit too into it for a bit. So I can't believe it's this far into it, and I've yet to ask for the studio name, Combat Waffle Studios. I mean, that's awesome. Freaking game development studio. So how did that name come to be? And like, was that your idea? Was that the team idea?
So it's for a while. I don't know if you know who Nine Line Apparel is.
Yes.
Okay. So I've known those guys for a long time. I know the CEO there, Tyler. He was a Night Stalker at Fort Campbell when I was at Fort Campbell. So I've been connected in the military community for years. I went to a lot of Nine Line, charity events and stuff like that, took clients there too. And I was actually their professional esports streamer for a long time on the 9line YouTube under the name Damage X. And I did this for him like 4 nights a week. And I had a buddy of mine, Joe, that was a Marine that did it with me. And one of our t-shirts was a Combat Waffle and it said Explosion of Flavor. And but Combat Waffles come from what we called landmines in the military. They're like Combat Waffle. They're like waffles. They're Combat Waffles. And that's where it all came from. And I was talking to Joe one day, probably in like, I don't know, March, before the studio launched in April. And I'm getting ready to fill out all the paperwork in the state of Florida with my lawyer. And I was like, dude, I have no idea what to call the studio. He's like, Combat Waffle Studios. I'm like, fucking boom. Like, boom. Like, what did I not think of that? And really, so if Joe Salmons, if you're listening, you tell me to tell people all the time, if it was not for Joe, we would have not used Combat Waffle as our name. And I think it just adds to the craziness of everything. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good game development studio name. Mm-hmm. So when I saw Combat Waffle Studios, I was like,
we always reference.
Yeah. When we're reading it, we do a review or impressions. We go,
yeah.
All right, who's the developer? Who's the publisher? We've seen some gems in Combat Waffle.
They're up there.
Yeah. And then, you touched on the lore a little bit briefly, but, for our listeners that don't know the lore or anything, I know it's available on the website. Do you mind to touch a little bit about, what kind of the background story of the game is?
Yeah. So basically it's 2044. You're in a country of Tabor, stranded, cut off from all outside communication. There was an incident that happened a couple years beforehand, and it was called the nuclear night, because that night everything ended, and your whole job is to survive and figure out who started the nuclear night. The Volk blame the Ghost blame the Volk, and the Phoenix blame both. So, and the Volk blames the rest, started all of this by starting the rest of the world from human experimentation, and they believe that Advantage was experiment on humans. And they blamed all the governments of the world for allowing it to happen, even though all governments denied knowledge of it. So I think you could probably see where this is going to go in the future. But this is, I don't know, it's a lore game, but it's not like a heavy lore game. But I think Proper D, Duncan, who's our doctor, and then Soul have been writing a lot of lore. Soul BC is our TikTok guy. And I love all of it, and I'm ready to expand and just drive it home and spread it across all the games and just get deep as we can get deep and just enjoy it, the mushiness of it.
That's awesome. And I'd be hard-pressed not ask this. I mean, do you have any tips for players struggling in Ghosts of Tabor?
Yeah, just play the tutorial. Like, play every station of the tutorial. Like, I mean, and then as my lead developers say, a lot of the pros, the biggest tip I can give you is just get good, kid. That's really it. Just tutorial, guys. But it's legit tutorial. If you pay attention to tutorial, you're gonna learn everything. It's gonna get more linear soon, so you can't skip stuff. We're gonna revamp that. But we wanted to give people freedom if they just wanted to go back to the target range and not have to do everything over again. So that's why we did this area. But now that we're putting the range inside the bunker, you don't have to worry about that anymore. So the tutorial will get more linear, and just play that, and I think you'll be fine. Like, if you have questions, just email support@combatwaffle.com, and Michael DeFresney will help you out.
I want to give you credit, and I guess criticism, but it's good criticism. The amount of guns you have is fantastic. I love the fact that only certain clips are going to go with the right gun.
Very realistic.
But I was listening to somebody beefing about, I can never figure out what clip goes with what, or what the gun is. And I'm like, I think there's a long-term expectation that you're going to know like exactly what a Glock looks like and how to operate it, including the safeties that a lot of the guns have, and being able to go from full auto to single shot. But for people who aren't going to be capable of learning every single gun name and the ammo that goes with it, other than, up to the point of like even saying like, this is a 9mm round, but now you gotta know what does the 9mm round go for? Which cartridge can I put this in, or magazine? Is that just deliberate to leave it like that, or will there be kind of like a cheat in your safe house to?
If you actually look in the, the market, if you walk up to a gun, it tells you it's an MP5, and it tells you on like a little placard there, it tells you, and then it tells you on the placard on the magazine, MP5 magazine, takes 9x19, those kind of things. And that's as deep as we'll ever go.
I love it. That's exactly how I've been doing it. I'm like, oh, what do I got for my? And so I go right to the store, and then I'm like, okay, that's the clip I need. And then I go back to my safe house, and
Yeah,
I bundled them now all together. So
realism in that regard is very important to you.
absolutely. I don't. I do not want to go down the days of like looking in HUDs and menus and that kind of stuff. I don't want to do that journey. I don't. Maybe in Last Call we'll do something like that because you can be a little bit more cartoony since it'll be zombies. But like in this game, I do not want to stray away from realism. And it took a long time to come up with a way even to check ammo count to figure out how are we going to do this and keep it realistic without having a HUD pop up. And for mags that don't have like windows on them or dots where you can see how many bullets are in the mag. So we came up with the shake, and it tells you 3 buzzes, 2 buzzes, 1 buzz, tells you how much ammo you have. So, and that's the best way we could think because I can do it by just picking a mag up and simulating fill weight in real life, right? I'm like, oh, it's about halfway full, 5.56. So this is the easiest way to do it. So we're trying to stay away from menus, HUD systems, all that stuff. I don't want it. I feel like it's overdone. It just litters every game.
Well, what's crazy is just through repetition, people are going to know that
That's this gun. That's that ammo.
Yeah, because I haven't cross-referenced everything, but so far from what I've seen, the ammo is legit to the actual firearm in real life. It's like
the way they function, even the MP5, where you have to lock it back with a 30-round mag. If it's full, and this part is not implemented, but with an MP5, and I have one of my gun safes sitting right there. So I tell people all the time when they tell me I'm wrong, I'm like, let me show you.
I can show you. Yeah.
So the MP5, you have to lock the bolt back if you have 30 rounds in it because there's a small little bump on the bottom of the bolt of an MP5 that pushes down against that 30 rounds. So to be able to load one in, you have to rack it back, put it in, put your mag in, then let it go forward, put one in the chamber. If you put a mag in that only has like 28, 29 rounds in, you don't have to lock it back because that bolt, the little nub, has enough room to flex the mag down, push the mag down to where you can load it. I think every gun in the game I've either shot or owned. So, or I own. I have 2 gun safes here in my office, and that's my life. Like firearms have been my life since I was knee high, hunting and fishing and stuff in Kentucky. So I love guns. I love everything about them. And yeah, I think if I said from the start that, pardon my French, we could fuck up everything else about this game, but we could not fuck up the guns. They had to be perfect. So.
Nope, I respect it. And again, it's going to be, long-term education for people over the long run. Because
exactly,
repetition. You're going to look at that gun. You're going to go, okay, that's a Mac 10. Period. I know what rounds go. That's pretty impressive.
I want to make sure that in the future, because I built this in mind, that I want to be able to help brothers and sisters in arms out and the Ranger bats and everything else. And if I can make this as real life as possible, then we can do this with a DoD. And that was my vision when I built this. Like, go as real as you can go with your weapons and that kind of stuff, to where it's now muscle memory even when you come out of VR.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, if you played this game for a couple hours and focus on one pistol, we'll take the Glock, and then gave someone a Glock, they'd probably have a pretty good concept of how they're going to have to load it and cock it back.
They'll know how to clean it and take it apart and change out parts and here in the next year or so as well. So.
Oh, cleaning is going to become a part of the game?
Cleaning, upgrading barrels, changing out triggers, the competition triggers, so you don't have to squeeze the trigger as far or let the trigger out as far. I mean, real life stuff. Yeah, it's all coming.
Trigger discipline is real in this game, too. I'll tell everyone right now.
Yeah. I've tried to pick up a gun by pulling both triggers by accident and taking out a teammate, and in one case, even myself.
Yeah.
Shot in the leg.
So I have a server question.
Sure.
I probably could have jumped into your very active Discord and gotten an answer, but I figure since you're here, you're probably the best one to ask. If you're in a server and it consists of 12 humans and you kill 2 humans, are 2 going to respawn in that time frame? So it's keeping a constant 12 people playing. Oh, so you can literally wipe the server.
You can wipe servers. Yeah. Now, when you can do Phoenix runs, that is when players will be able to spawn in as a random Phoenix, like on Tarkov, where you can spawn in as a random scav with a random kit with about 10, 15 minutes left in the raid. And they'll spawn randomly. So you won't know if it's a Phoenix or a Phoenix AI, Phoenix player, Phoenix AI. That is coming.
Because right now we can use this.
If you're broke, go to a Phoenix run and get your gear and get out with it, and you got your gear in your hideout.
So much potential with this game coming.
The server wipes. That's freaking awesome. And I have a question about the server wipe too.
Sure.
If one happens to have acquired the gold AK because they owned the game before the last server wipe, I believe will it still exist after the next server wipe?
Yes. Yeah, and you'll have a new item, which is going to be a giant golden spoon as a weapon.
And same thing with the DLCs. You get the content of your DLC back post.
Yeah. And July wipe, all of that content will not be in the kiosk anymore. It'll be auto sorted on your walls in your storage.
Mm-hmm. That'll be fun. I actually like that. And then, we had a couple questions from our Patreon listeners. Sometimes if we have an interview booked, we like to go, hey, anybody have some questions? And one of our Patreon listeners asked, any word on a release date for Pico?
We're still talking to Pico, but Beyond Frames is dealing with all of that now. We've been talking to Pico since October. The deal was supposed to be done in December, and it's just, I think with the whole TikTok thing going on in North America, like Pico, which is owned by whatever the company that owns TikTok,
ByteDance.
ByteDance, they own the studio that made Valorant and everything else. I think everything's just so cluttered. But I about 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, Andrew over Beyond Frames gave me an update, and it is moving forward, and we're just waiting on a contract. So
awesome. And then another question. Somebody asked that they don't understand all of the menu settings in Ghosts of Tabor. Is there someplace they can go to get more information about the settings?
Yeah, I would just email Michael because all that's getting ready to get revamped. So like with gun stock calibration coming in and everything else, like there's more settings. We're gonna revamp all of that stuff. So I think Michael, support at combatwaffle.com is the easiest way to get any questions like quick, direct from staff. If it doesn't come from us, it cannot be 100% reliable. So
all right. Makes sense. And then two more, actually. I'm sorry about that.
Sure.
Somebody asked, is there a place to find the frequently asked questions for the best setup for Ghosts of Tabor on various platforms? Now, as a standalone user, that's not something that affects me. I'm guessing they mean in terms of maybe headset settings. I wasn't quite 100% sure.
I would just ask in the Discord, the guys that own your headset, and they'll be able to guide you the right way. Every headset is so different, and there's so many daggone headsets out there from like the Windows days, like early Windows mixed reality. Like we've had to buy like 6-year-old headsets because people say, oh, it doesn't run on this 6-year-old headset, and we have to get it working. So it's like, who knows?
Yeah, and I can attest that you guys have a very active and lively Discord. So anybody can always pop in there. And then one last question. One of our Patreon listeners asked that, you've had a really varied career prior to getting into VR. What's a fun experience, unique story you can share with us that's something that most people wouldn't have experienced in life?
Okay, I got one. This is military stuff. I was stationed in Korea for 2 years, in South Korea. I lived in Dongdaesan, which is Camp Casey. It's the closest base to the DMZ. And 1 week we got to go out, 2 weeks, I guess, we got to go out and train with the Republic of Korea Army, the ROK Army. And we were out there, and I met a guy that thought he knew my dad. But there's no way he ever knew my dad because he thought he knew my dad when he was like a young private. My dad was not in the military. So he thought he knew my father, and he was a staff sergeant at this time, and I was only an E4 corporal, an NCO, low-ranking corporal, NCO. And my dad apparently smoked him until he threw up, which means made him do physical labor until he puked. And he was still mad about that. And he attacked me with his soldiers and then duct taped me to a tank gun tube and then ran a self-test. So it does like brr, brr, boop, 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 and my head is just bouncing. I'm taped up to like 15, 20 feet in the air on this gun tank and just getting yanked around and thrown. There's so many military stories I could tell, but that's the only appropriate one. So
no, I get it.
That's awesome. And, our listeners know we usually record on weekends. We're the most selfish people. We take developers that work hard all week. They get a day off.
What you doing on your day off?
On a Sunday, and we go, here, let's steal them. So, I don't want to take up too much more time. But Trash, before we let Scott go, any other questions that you wanted to ask before we wrap this one up?
No, I mean, I already knew that this wasn't a dead project. I see the activity going on. I actually think, if anything, the game is probably more popular than anybody, even though everybody wants success. I just feel like it exploded quicker than anyone probably might have anticipated. And now, you're having to try to catch up to every Tom, Dick, and Harry's complaint and issue and concern, which I have full faith in it. A couple of the things I got answered organically. I find it incredible that everything kind of aligned like it did for you to choose the career to go into VR, but definitely admirable for family reasons. Keep you grounded near the fam is definitely cool.
Dude, I keep saying it. 2,200 total ratings.
Is that what it is now?
Yep. I just had to pull it up real quick.
No,
2,205. And
how many written reviews?
1331.
Yeah, see, that's
in 2 months
huge.
on App Lab.
Yeah.
And that's just the MetaQuest store. We're not talking what Steam is on. So
and it's good to see someone taking the risk to say, you know what?
I want this
game.
You
can bring games over that haven't been done before. You can bring your own new flavor to it. Even with games that are repetitive, we even say, as long as you bring something new to it that not everyone's done, I'll be... No, I'm 100% content. I want to definitely see if we can talk down the road after some of these updates come rolling out.
Yeah, especially as that anticipated official store release comes, and
listen, man, I don't like to bet money, but if I was, this is like as sure a thing as you're probably going to get.
And whenever you're ready to hype up a future Combat Waffle Studios game, let us know. We'll be glad to have you on just to talk about those too. I'm pretty confident in your ability to hit deadlines.
We might be dropping like a little bitty 30-second teaser trailer in the next month or so.
Ooh, stay tuned for that. So I'm excited. Ooh, I can't wait. So thank you again, Scott, for joining us.
Got it.
To the listeners, if you haven't played Ghosts of Tabor yet,
you're missing out.
It's in early access, but don't wait. Get in on it now. Join the fun. They got a great Discord as well, so go check them out. If you enjoyed the podcast, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and we'll be back with you next week.